probably say the word EBITDA like 20 times a day. It's like what you do at private equity owned companies. And you probably care a lot about cost savings, though. And if you're
that's basically all you do. You just walk around saying
EBITDA.
Yeah.
EBITDA.
He actually really simplified it. He got it. Yeah.
It's like, see, I know finance too.
No, yeah,
and the law.
Yeah. You have not ever let an ossified version of yourself slow you down. Yeah, please.
And in contrast, though, if you're in a very competitive market, like if you talk to any CEO, they generally care more about growth than they do cost savings. And in fact, I think one of the counterintuitive things, there's lots of talk about with models becoming cheaper, will demand for infrastructure go down? No, in fact, demand will go up just because new use cases will emerge. I think the same will be true of most cost savings in AI. I think most sophisticated companies will recoup those cost savings and reinvest in growth. And so it won't actually be cost savings necessarily. It will actually flow to other parts of the business just because that's what capitalism does, right? It's like, saving a lot of money for what reason? Like you want to grow, you want to beat your competitors. So sort of first principles and our lived experience is that, top line matters more. There's just no doubt about it. And if you can drive a measurable top line outcome, that's always more valuable. But cost savings do matter because fundamentally, if you look at sort of productivity growth in the world over the past 30 years, it hasn't been as dramatic as I think many people thought it would be after the 90s, where we saw a huge spike in productivity growth. So fundamentally, just like in the economy, we're driving efficiency, productivity in the economy. And so the answer is definitely both. The interesting thing about cost savings is I assume those will be compressed over time. Right now, most of your AI startups are being compared to the labor costs. 10 years from now, when it's all AI agents, you're going to be compared to other AI agents. So the other thing about cost savings is it's a temporary drug, because the costs of actually all these things are going to change because of the presence of technology. So it's a little bit like, your mobile phone plans, or actually I always think about it as like the computers we used to buy growing up in the 80s and 90s. They would get cheaper and better every single time. And that's sort of where we are in this AI market. So our view is that like figure out what the outcomes are that your customers want. And it really depends on the application, honestly. Even how you price it is interesting. One of my favorite stories, I don't know if this is actually true, but I heard it. And even if it's not true, it changed the way I think, which was when LinkedIn was at one point trying to grow the recruiting business, they started out with some usage-based model, but it turns out HR departments don't have a lot of license to spend in a variable amount. So making it a subscription model just helped with the procurement process. I love that example because it's a really nuanced and insightful go-to-market point, which is that department, HR is generally a cost center in most companies. Unlike marketing departments, which have money flowing from the ceiling, this is a department that has to go through a pretty rigorous procurement department. So actually going to a subscription model was necessary to actually sell a product into that department. It's that type of thing, I think, is where it's like, is it cost savings or top line? Yes, both, but also who are you selling to? How do they buy? Who are the gatekeepers to approving how they spend? That's how you grow an enterprise software business. You really need to understand who your decision makers are, who's approving it, and actually how do they budget? And I have a lot of counterintuitive things, but it's sometimes easier for companies to prepay for things than to pay on demand. Counterintuitive, but just I think that's you really need to get into the details of your buying cycle to answer that in an accurate way.
I'm going to wrap us up. Brett, thank you.